Assalamu alaikum. My name is Kat, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my revert story to Islam. The reason why I decided to is, well, usually on my YouTube channel, I don't really talk a lot about my personal life, and I don't really speak like this. I usually, if you can see my past videos, I kind of use a lot of visuals in my videos instead of just me sitting and talking. But I sort of became inspired to talk to you guys about my personal journey with religion and with Islam. And part of this is because some of you might not know, but almost 2 years ago I moved to New Zealand, and I'm still in New Zealand now. So I was here when the tragedy happened in Christchurch. And right now in New Zealand there is a ton of discussion about Islam in the media and about bringing communities closer together and having more interfaith dialogues. And so all of that just sort of inspired me to make a video for you guys about my personal journey with religion and my thoughts about dialogues and interfaith community events. So for this video, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of my backstory with religion. I was raised Catholic, so I was raised a Christian. And growing up, we went to church pretty much every Sunday, and I did all the sacraments that they have in Catholicism. And even though I'm not Catholic now, I just want to say that I'm really happy that I grew up in that way. It gave me an insight to a religion, and it really just gave me knowledge that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't grown up Catholic. So for me, that was a positive experience, and I wouldn't go back in time and change that experience. But when I got to be around 18 years old, I sort of started questioning my religion a little bit more. There were some things in Christianity that made sense to me, and then there were other things in that religion that just didn't really make sense. So I started doing a little bit of research about the religion more, and when I was researching about it, there was one question that I read. I think I read this on the internet. Someone had asked, if Jesus is God, then why would he pray to himself? So when I heard that question, I remember getting a little bit perplexed, and I remember just saying to myself, like, wow, that's not about before. And for some reason, I really couldn't get that specific question out of my head. And that sort of started my whole big doubting of Christianity. It really made me wonder how someone could say that, you know, Jesus was God and a man. Now, since I grew up Christian, I completely understand that most Christians have this concept of the Trinity. So they believe in one God, but three people within that one God. So they have Jesus, the Son, and then they have God the Father, and then they have the Holy Spirit. But to be honest, that never really made a lot of sense to me. And I remember when I used to ask, like, religious leaders, like a priest or other people in the church about that, when I would say, you know, the Trinity doesn't really make that much sense to me, the answer I usually got back was just like, well, it's a mystery and you need to have faith. That's an okay answer. I completely understand the concept of having faith, but for me, it just really was a logical answer to make me feel like my question had been answered. So anyway, going off of that topic, well, first I want to say that I have absolutely nothing against Christianity or any other religions, so I don't want this video to come across as me disliking Catholicism or any form of Christianity, or me trying to dislike or bash any religion, because honestly, I have respect for every single person's right to their beliefs. I'm just kind of giving you guys a backstory of what led me to questioning my religion and what led me into researching other religions and eventually coming to Islam. So I just wanted to make that clear. But anyway, so the Trinity didn't really make sense to me, and the fact that Jesus was supposed to be God, but then he went and prayed to God, that also didn't really add up to me. So at that point, I decided that I didn't really believe in Catholicism anymore. And I decided that I didn't want to be any religion. So for about 2 years, I was nothing. Like, I kind of believed in God, but I didn't really believe in any specific religion, and I just kind of left it at that. After some time, I started feeling a little bit empty. It's kind of hard to explain, but I really had something missing. Like, I felt alone, and I felt like a really big need for spiritual fulfillment. So I decided I'm going to research a ton of other religions. So I looked into the Baha'i faith. I went to a few meetings with some Baha'is, and they were so kind, and I'm still really grateful that they let me come to some of their events. And then I also went to a Hindu temple, and there I found very warm, welcoming people as well, and I really appreciated that experience. That was sort of like a college retreat group going to a Hindu temple. I remember I read about Judaism. For some reason, the last religion, I also looked into Buddhism, and I talked to some people that were Buddhists. That was really interesting too. But for some reason, the very last religion that I looked into was Islam. I don't know why. It just wasn't one of the religions that popped into my mind in the beginning. So anyway, when I started learning about Islam, I just remember being really surprised. The things I was surprised about were, in Islam, they have all of the same messengers as Christianity and Judaism. So in other words, they have Moses, they have Jesus, they have Abraham, they have Noah. So it's very similar to the stories that you find in the Torah and in the Christian Bible. And when we say those names in Islam, we are supposed to say peace be upon them. So I'll just say peace be upon them. Now in Islam, the names are a little bit different. So for example, Moses, we say in Islam, Musa alayhi salam, which is peace be upon him. For Jesus, we say Isa alayhi salam, peace be upon him. So the names are a little bit different, but they're the same people, and they're pretty much the same stories. You might find a little bit of details that are different, but in general, the overall stories are pretty much the same that you see in Christianity and Judaism. So I remember when I found that out, thinking like, that's really interesting. I want to know more about this religion. So as I looked more into Islam, I realized that it actually answered the question I had before, which is, if Jesus is God, then how can he pray to himself? Islam actually answers that question, which is that the Muslim view of Jesus is that he's a very, very important person. He was a messenger of God. So in Islam, we don't believe that Jesus was God himself, but we do believe that he was able to perform miracles, and that he was very kind and compassionate, and that he was a messenger of God. So in other words, God sent him down to send a message to the people. So we definitely respect Jesus. We love him, peace be upon him, and he's very significant in our religion. We also believe that he was born of the Virgin Mary. So it is similar to Christianity in that way. But we don't believe that he is actually God. And actually a really big concept in Islam is that we don't take any idols. So part of what we consider to be idols would be like statues that you pray to, or people. So we consider, if you take a human being and you put that person on such a high pedestal that you start praying to them, we see that as praying to an idol in Islam. So in Islam, we're very careful about not taking people as idols. And that's one of the reasons why Muslims, we don't actually draw pictures of the prophets in Islam, including Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So we don't draw their face. And that's because Muhammad said not to put him on the same level as God. So we're not supposed to worship any human beings. So to be honest with you, that seemed a lot more logical to me than the concept of Jesus actually being God. And again, I don't want to offend any Christians with this video. I completely respect Christians' rights to their beliefs. I respect actually everyone's right to their own religious beliefs. So in no way am I trying to put down someone else's religion. I'm just giving you my view and what seems the most logical to me. Another thing I noticed in Islam is that it's very detail-oriented. And when I say detail-oriented, you probably think I'm talking about like small little rules that we have to follow. But actually what I mean by detail-oriented is Islam makes you notice things that you wouldn't notice before, particularly in nature. So Islam is very focused on connecting with nature, which is something that I find very calming and very spiritual. So, for example, in the Quran, there is a line saying that there are signs for people who reflect, and these signs are in nature. So, one example in the Quran is ants, like the insect ants, and how complex their structure is. So, one of the strong concepts in Islam is that when you look at the complexity of nature, it shows you proof that there must be a God. And I know to some people that are atheists, they find it really hard to believe in the concept of God, or they just think that God definitely doesn't exist. However, Islam is the one religion that really made me believe in God. And this is because, like, let me give you an example. If you see like an iPhone on the street, okay? Like, let's say like you just walked down the street and you saw an iPhone. If someone came up to you and said, "Oh, that iPhone, it just came from nothing," you're going to say that is crazy. Obviously, someone built and designed this iPhone, right? Or anything, computer. But for some reason, some humans find it logical to say that something as complex as an animal or a human being or even just a tree just came out of nothing. I find that to be actually the most illogical reasoning, because in our world, we know that things do not just come out of nothing. Everything has a creator. And when you look at the human body, it's much, much more complex than a computer or a phone or anything man-made. So just the fact that our nervous system, our organs, everything that functions about the human body is so complex that we cannot even reproduce that today. Like, we still don't know how to properly clone a human being, for example. That shows you evidence of a creator. So even if you don't believe in religion, just the concept of believing in God, I believe, is an extremely logical concept. Now, with that said, another thing that really drew me to Islam is that it doesn't clash with science. So Islam is very encouraging of research and not blind following. So we'd never say in Islam that science clashes with religion. You'll notice that a lot of doctors and researchers and different types of scientists, many of them are actually Muslim. And in fact, during the time of Islam, over 1400 years ago, we saw a lot of advancements coming from the Muslim world at that time. So that is a whole other video that I can make. It's actually a really interesting topic. But for now, I'm just kind of focusing more on like why I became Muslim. So anyway, going back to the topic, all of these things combined just really got me interested in the religion. And then basically the thing that kind of sealed the deal for me that really made me want to become Muslim is something that is very hard to explain. And that is, I think I was around 21 years old when I decided to convert to Islam. And before that, I had never actually heard the Quran. Like, I'd never listened to it. I just never heard it. After I was researching about Islam and I got all the information together about it, and then I actually heard the Quran for the first time, it just touched me. Like, it's hard to explain, but it just made me feel something like in my heart. It made me feel like, it's really hard to explain, but it just felt like something that made me wake up and just really want to become Muslim, subhanallah. And now I've been Muslim for 12 years and I have never changed religion in that time. So will I always be Muslim? Yes, definitely. Was I always a perfect Muslim? No, definitely not. And I definitely made a lot of mistakes. And I don't judge other people because, trust me, we're all human. We all have flaws. We all make mistakes. Nobody is a perfect Muslim. No one is perfect in any religion. But I can honestly say that sticking with my religion and being Muslim for all these years just really, really helped me in my life. I've been through a lot of things that were very stressful and, including things that just, I've been through things in my life where the stress got so bad that the only thing that was able to comfort me was Islam, was having that thing to fall back on and having my faith and praying and doing meditation. It just really helped me get through some hard times. So that is a really big reason that I was able to stick with Islam. And to be honest with you, I didn't even cover my hair until very, very recently. So like I said, no one is a perfect Muslim. Whether you cover your hair, whether you don't, it actually says nothing about your character. Really only Allah, only God knows what's inside of our heart. So just because I became Muslim and I stuck with it does not mean that I look down on anyone that's not Muslim. It doesn't mean that I don't respect other people's beliefs or religions. It's just, I just wanted to make this video to give you guys some of my backstory, some insight to how I became Muslim and why. And yeah, I just hope that gives you guys a little bit more information. I truly, truly believe that all religions can live happily and peacefully side by side. I think it's a big shame that in the world today we do see a lot of conflicts. We see a lot of violence. These things are wrong. No matter how you look at it, violence and hatred and conflict should never come out of religion. People use religion as an excuse to do horrible things sometimes, but that's not the teachings of the religion. Most world religions, including Islam, teach peace. They teach us how to control our anger. They teach us how to forgive others. They teach us how to give to charity. Excuse me. Most religions in the world are teaching peace, including Islam, and it's something that definitely helped me to be a more peaceful person, and it's something that I hope will continue to help me grow in my life. So yeah, I hope that gives you guys some more insight. I will possibly make future videos about this topic. Maybe about different topics in Islam, maybe even about living in New Zealand right now with the current climates and everything going on. But thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you guys again sometime. Assalamu alaikum.